What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Just Like Smith channel. In today's video we're going to be taking this 2025 Surron Ultra B. We're going to be removing the stock factory Surron speed controller, and then we're going to be installing a Torp Tc1000 speed controller to really crank this bike up and give it even more power and better throttle response, along with a lot of other features. So follow along and let's go ahead and get started. So I'm not going to bore you guys with talking a whole lot, but I'm going to show you guys what all comes in this box after you've opened it up and what all the kit includes. You're going to get the heat sink / mounting plate for the actual controller. You'll get the actual Torp TC1000 controller along with the plug and play harness. There's no wiring needed for this kit. A quick start guide. And in that quick start guide, you will see a few different directions and a little bit of advice and pictures, really cool stuff. And along with that, a QR code to where you can actually watch a video from Torp. But hopefully you guys watch mine and check out theirs as well, because the more information you have on this subject, the better. We're going to go ahead and start by removing the seat. And then we're going to remove this little tool tray, and then we're going to flip up the battery tray, the battery lid, whatever you want to call it, and then we're going to unplug these two connections on top of the battery and go ahead and remove the battery out of the bike. We're going to be able to get to all of the connections and remove all of the hardware to go ahead and install this. You're going to start by removing the two 5mm Allen screws on each side of the controller, and then there's two at the bottom as well. Now right here you have some little connection covers. They're on each one of the connections, and you can just bend them up like little bubbles kinda and just fold them up out of the way, and then you can get in there and break loose all of these screws and remove them. Save this hardware in case you ever want to put your factory controller back on to sell the bike. Also on the back side you will have two Phillips head screws to remove this little cable guide for the rear brake line, and it's like a little cover as well. Underneath here you're going to have one plug. You will actually press in on like a little Christmas tree push pin back in there using a little pick, and that's how you get that to actually break free, so then you can get to this plug and unplug it. It's kind of hidden at first, hard to find. Now we can actually press this in and unplug it. Next up, we're going to go ahead and remove these 4 screws. And then you can drop this tray back, and this will expose all of the connections. There are only 2 connections for the speed controller up top, and then there was just the 1 connection down below like you just seen. So here are the 3 connections and the factory speed controller removed. Now, using the factory hardware that Torp sends you in the box, you will go ahead and take the shorter screws right here and set the heatsink / mounting plate onto the Torp controller, and all of these bolts will line up. The controller is threaded, so you're going to go ahead and thread these Allen bolts into the controller, get all of those tightened down. Next up, you're going to take some of this dielectric grease that they supply. Torp does send you this. You want to unplug and plug it in a few times just to make sure that the dielectric grease is worked in good, and then you'll hear the click just like that. Now you're ready to go. Now this is what it will look like. All of these are labeled, and there's great instructions. They're color coded, so there's blue, green, and yellow, and then there's just positive and negative. We're then going to mount the Torp TC1000 onto the bike after you have made all of the physical bolted connections on the controller. You will use the 4 medium length bolts, or well, I guess it's the longest bolts for the sides, and then they have 2 medium length bolts that you'll use on the bottom. Once you get those bolted down, you want to go ahead and flip those little bubble protective covers back over the connection to make sure that nothing ever crosses them, and you're ready to go. We're going to go up top here behind that plate that we removed earlier and go ahead and plug in the 2 connections on top into the factory harness using the Torp harness, and then there's 1 connection at the bottom that had that little Christmas pin And then after that, right here is what the wiring should look like. It's kind of tucked up in the frame and organized. I wanted to show this because no one really shows this, but you can organize it and tuck it up into the frame very nicely. And then this plate will go on without causing, any kind of wires to get pinched or any kind of wires to be rubbing against each other. It's very important that you get that on very smoothly, and then just put the 4 bolts back in this plate. Go ahead and drop your battery back into the bike and make your 2 connections. Install the battery lid back onto the bike using the 2 clips, and go ahead and slide that seat back on. You're going to want to go ahead and jump onto the App Store and download the Torp controller app, and go ahead and run through the calibration, set up the Torp Tc1000 install on Surron Ultra B. If you're interested in a first ride video and review, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we will have one of those up on the channel shortly. Always remember, everybody starts out as nobody, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.